There's a growing crisis tonight involving the earliest stages of life. There are news reports that millions of human embryos have been abandoned at fertility clinics around the country. There are no regulations on caring for the embryos, and the reports are that many have been destroyed and discarded. The National Catholic Bioethics Center is dedicated to defending human dignity in healthcare. John Brehany is their Director of Institutional Relations, and he joins us now from Philadelphia. John, thank you so much for being here. What's the root cause of this problem? Why are so many human embryos being abandoned?
You know, I think it's a combination of increasing technology and then a consumerist mindset when it comes to children. Uh, IVF and artificial reproductive technologies were created ostensibly to deal with the problem of infertility, but more and more it's a consumer mentality that is fueling people's approach to having children, and that is resulting in more embryos being created than anyone could ever bear or have as children.
Since embryos are eggs that have been fertilized, the Catholic Church has strong teachings on this, especially when it comes to using them for research, correct?
Absolutely. And if I could just issue a quick correction, embryos are human beings anywhere from 4 days to about, I think, 7 or 8 weeks of gestation. So they're beyond the egg stage. They're young human beings. So to abandon them, or even worse, to give them to scientific researchers who will use them in destructive forms of research is really a terrible crime against human life and human dignity.
One of your colleagues at the National Catholic Bioethics Center is saying that trust funds should be set up for the human embryos. How would that work?
Well, the reason Father Tad Pakulsik says that is it does not appear that there's a clear ethical solution to bring these children to term, since the church teaches the procreation should take place only within a marriage and only from a marital act. So to even if people wanted to rescue these embryos out of good motives, they, in a sense, would be engaging in artificial reproduction themselves. So the best we can do, it appears in the short term, if we don't abandon them or destroy them, is to preserve them until we can come up with an ethical solution. That's the idea. It's feasible because the storage fees are $500 to $1,000 a year. You know, people spend much more money to send their children to camp sometimes or to private schools. So it's a feasible expense, but it's a great moral dilemma.
There's another idea that's known as prenatal adoption. What does the church have to say about that?
Yeah, the church, it did speak about that in the year 2008 in its most recent guidance on artificial procreation called Dignitas Personae, the dignity of the human person. And it didn't encourage that at all. Again, for someone to adopt an embryo, it would require that the wife in a sense, have her body changed and participate in artificial reproduction. So Pope John Paul II said years ago that it appears that we've created a dilemma for which there is no ethical solution. So prenatal adoption is not an ethical solution, at least according to most of the ethicists at the National Catholic Bioethics Center and according to the most recent teaching of the Church.
Interesting. John Brehany, Director of Institutional Relations at the National Catholic Bioethics Center, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.